at it again. So I got the galvanizing all ground off the edges here, and I'm ready to fit the metal on. I got it kind of slightly pre-bent here. I was just playing around with it the other night before I went home. So I think the plan is going to be to try tacking it in place and just work my way up, clamping it down and seeing how that bends out and how it lines up. I don't want to get too permanent because I'm sure I'm going to have to shuffle it up or down a little bit just to get that positioning right. So anyway, let's get some clamps and a few tacks on here and see what we can do. Alright, we got some progress made. Got everything tacked up. And it's looking like a fender. Front was a little tricky. It's a pretty tight radius through there. It's a bit of a compound. Got a little more gap than I'd like to see at the front here, but I'll just have to fill that with some weld. I did get it somewhat close to flush there, so that's where it ended up having to be. So that is what it is. So I'll get a little more welding done on this. Maybe even tonight. Just got a couple hours to throw at this after work here today, and I gotta get home yet. So let's get to work. Okay, one down. Driver's side done. Still smoking hot. Just finished all the welding. Everything turned out pretty good. Sheet metal stayed reasonably straight. I got this thing fully welded all the way around, and now I just gotta grind all the welds down, and that'll about have this one finished, save for a little bit of body work that I'll have to do. Filling and sanding a little bit, I'm sure. Probably not going to take a whole lot. Pretty happy with how that turned out. Everything stayed nice and straight, which I'm excited about. I was expecting a little more warpage, but low power setting on the MIG, and it worked out all right. So that's the one down. I think I'm going to call that a night, and I'll jump on the next one. I don't know when I'm going to have time next. Maybe I'll get a few hours in tomorrow. We'll see. So we'll catch you later. So for these, I'm just using a Velcro backed sanding disc. I think this might be a 60. I thought it was a 60, but it's looking a little finer than that, probably closer to 120. Okay, I think I'm about ready to start splashing some paint on these things. I got them all sanded up. You can see lots of sanding marks on there. That'll get covered up pretty good by the primer. And the textured paint that I'm going to throw on, there's a little bit of rust on the backside, so I put a pile of time into sanding that down too. So there's a little bit of filling I got to do. There's a few holes and stuff through there, you can see. So first thing I'm going to do is throw some primer on, then I'll work on filling and sanding and filling and sanding. So one thing with this EMT, with the galvanized paint, there's a special primer that you use for it. So I've got a can of that. I'm going to hit those up first and prime out the rest of them and get these things sealed up. Okay, got some primer on. White stuff is the galvanized primer, and the green stuff is self-etching primer. Haven't used the self-etching primer before. Gonna give that a try. Interesting. I'm seeing a little bit of, I don't know if you can see that. Got a little bit of cracking there where the primer overlapped. Gonna have to keep an eye on that, see how that plays out here. Wonder if this side is doing it at all. No, it doesn't look like it. Anyway, I got all this filling I gotta do here now. That's showing up nicely there, of course. So we'll get to that yet after it dries. Right now, I think I'm gonna go inside, maybe find myself something cold and frosty and full of hops. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Very interesting. I guess the two primers don't like each other. I'll have to look into that. Alright, I think we're ready to get going. Next morning here. Let the primer cure overnight. Everything looks good. Looks like top coating everything with this red oxide primer here. Covered up all that checking that I was starting to see. I did sand that out a little bit. Everything looks compatible and ready to go. So, got one set up in the soft jaws on the swivel vise here. It makes it nice. I can position this however I want for working on things. So I'm going to start on just running some filler through these little weld divots through here, and I'll get that cleaned up. I'll just quickly hit that and let that dry for most of the morning here, and maybe hit it up with the paper this afternoon. So, got my blue hands, got my sandpaper, got some sanding blocks, my favorite filling tools, and a little bit of filler there. We're going to hit this up and get to work here. Okay, we're all sanded out, and just going to give these a quick wipe down with some acetone, and I think we're ready to spray them again. Awesome, let's hit it. Okay, now we're gray. So I got a coat of gray primer on there, covered up everything pretty nicely. This is where your work of prep comes through. There are still some sanding marks in there. Normally I would take this opportunity to sand these things out if we were doing anything half nice here, but the deal is we're going to cover it with a crinkle finish black, which is going to hide a lot of stuff. So, boy, I'm kind of waffling on this. You know, maybe I will give it a quick sand. So that's going to mean having to let it dry. So yeah, maybe I'll check this in a couple hours, see how it looks. If it looks good and dry, then I'll give her a quick sand. This primer is drying up pretty quick, which is good. How's this one? Yeah, this one's a little better than the other. You can still see a few little marks in there. Nothing that I'm really worried about. Crying out loud, I'm going to be bashing these things in the bush anyway, so we're not going for a showroom finish here by any stretch. So yeah, I'll leave these sit for a bit and give them a quick sand, another quick wipe down, and then hit it with some black. Okay, fenders are black, turned out pretty good. I think I'm liking this rubberized truck bed stuff on the underside. Seems to be okay. I'm not sure I'd want to use it on the front side, but or on the top side there. But I think it's going to do well for holding up to chips and rocks flying off. So the next step is putting the texture on this. Somewhere around here. Here we go. I think this is the one. This is what I'm using. This is kind of a well, they're calling it textured shimmer because it's got a little metal flake in it, but it's essentially the same thing as I used for my bumper, only it's got that little bit of silver flake in it. So I'm gonna use this to get the texture, and then I'll go over it with some semi-gloss black, and that'll get things looking the way I want it to. So I'll throw on my mask here and start throwing some paint at these things. Okay, we got a nice haze in the air in the shop here. So I got that crinkly stuff sprayed on and covered it up with a little bit of the semi-gloss black as best I could. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but we'll see how it looks when it dries. It's not too bad right now. You got a little bit of variation in there with the paint. I might have to go over with another coat yet. But yeah, jury's out until we see this stuff dry. So if worse comes to worse, I do have a teeny tiny little bit left of the black crinkle finish left over from the bumper, and I'll spray a quick top coat of that if I have to. But so far it's looking not too bad, I think. Probably good enough for steel fenders that I'm going to bash about in the bush. So anyway, time to go find some supper. All right, we got them together. They're looking pretty good. I don't think I need to go over with the old stuff, with the old paint there. The trim clad over the metal flake stuff seemed to work all right. So there's still a few places where you can see some sanding marks through there, or where I needed to fill or sand more. I didn't put a heck of a lot of time into prep here, and I'm not that worried about it. These are going to work just fine. So I'm going to load these in the Jeep, take them over to the other shop, just because I got tools over there that I think I'm going to need in order to do this. So yeah, I'll fire them in there, take a drive, and get these suckers installed, finally. All right, so I got the fender off, and we're getting this inner fender set up here. So what I'm doing here is I've just taken the original fender support, trimmed it out, put it back in there. The reason you need that is to be able to attach the inner fender well back on there, just so you have some spray protection from the to the engine compartment there. So no need to reinvent the wheel here. Go check out Anywhere JK, I think it is, on YouTube there for a GenRight tube fender install. They give you directions on how to set this all up. So that's what I'm doing right here. So we'll just get this thing popped right back on. Come on, Missy. There we go. That looks like it's working okay. Yeah, that's going to work fine. And then what do we got here now? That's where that bolt goes up through. There we go. Nice. So the last one's just this end down here, which we're going to bolt that through just to keep that tight in there. That'll give us support for that bottom floppy half. So let's fit up the new fender. So for attaching the fenders, I'm using these little nutserts or riv nuts, depending on your brand. My tool is elsewhere. I thought it was up here, so I'm going to have to use the goofy little setup with the wrench and the bolts here to compress these things. So 3/8 hole, I'm going to punch all these out. They just need a little more clearance. I'm going to try and do that without wrecking stuff too much. And then I'm going to use some gray silicone just to seal up those things in there. Pretty straightforward. Okay, let's see what we can do here. I just stacked up some washers on there because this bolt's kind of long. That looks perfect. So silicone's just for sealing things up. I got a little bit of bare metal there. This will cover this up. Want to make sure you got a good tight fit there. Don't overbore those holes out like I did on that one. Cause yourself some problems. There we go. Got her. Okay, time to start fitting her up. Moment of truth. Okay, now we see where we got to drill out a little. Yeah, I think right away I'm gonna start punching out some holes a little bit, make things line up a little better here. Okay, I'm back. Had to run off, grab myself a coffee, a camera battery, a little bit of food, and some more nutsers. So this side, I got her mounted up here. We're looking okay, except for these two bottom bolts here. Looks like things sort of opened up when I welded, so we got to adjust those holes a little bit. So working on the other side here now. Like I mentioned, I was a couple nutsers short, so I'll finish those off. I got the fender cut out, the inner fender that is, and we're just about ready to mount these up. All right, we got them. They're on there. Everything's buttoned up. I gotta be honest with you, I don't have a whole lot of faith in those nutsers, and I had a couple of them that slipped on me, like that one up there where you see a missing screw. That thing's spinning around in there, and I got one on the other side as well. One, maybe two. This bottom one turned out to be a bugger. But anyway, they're on there, and we're solid. So I'm pretty happy with that. So the next step is going to be to work on the rears. Stay tuned for more.